Good morning. Welcome to the Therapeutic Conversation Show. I am your host, Dr. Brian Jones, LPC, where we're having conversations around mental health, spirituality, and empowerment. I'm so excited today. We're going to be talking about several different things, but I do have my friend, colleague, Dr. Kathy Martin on the line. She is going to be talking today about from her perspective, a former pastor, and also, she's still pastoring. She has her own platform that she uses called Interactive Faith Cafe, and she's going to be talking about her work there. She is definitely a wonderful person in the field, and also she has, her own story about mental health challenges and also some physical challenges that she has faced that she may share with us today. I just want you all to be open today. We're still going to continue our conversations about clinical training for ministers, but under the umbrella of that is we're still asking the question, why are leaders and pastors and certain ones are not receiving mental health services? Why are we not open in the spiritual community to receive mental health services, especially with pastors and spiritual leaders? Why are we not getting the mental health services or mental health counseling services? Why we're so apprehensive to looking at that with all that's going on. So for our therapeutic moment this morning, I want to just highlight everyone, I saw this, another shooting, unfortunately, mass shooting that had happened in Indianapolis, Maryland. And I was, I'm not sure all of the details, but I do know that it happened this week. And according to a news report that I read, Gun Violence Archives, they have calculated 154 mass shootings in the United States in 2018 so far. So 154 mass shootings. And I just think we got to kind of sit with that. So for our therapeutic moment, we definitely want to lift up those families that are affected. We definitely want to lift up those employees that are affected, that had, saw this incident happen, trauma, all kinds of things happen as people witness these type of things. And then we just want to pray for all the families and community people that are involved. I mean, it was 5 people, but that's just one is a lot. But 5 in this particular situations. Think about it, 154 mass shootings. And my question today is, given all of these shootings in churches, in schools, in the community, with the police, they're not mass shootings a lot of times, but they're individual shootings and people are really, it's a cry for help. And what I want to just say today to the audience is that what is the church's responsibility in dealing with these things? And I'm not hearing still a lot of conversations around mental health. I don't hear anybody talking about mental health, that, we're talking about these things. And last week on the show, one of my guests had brought up that we need to be proactive and not just reactive. Once someone does something like this, what can we learn from this situation? What type of things can we do differently? How can we look at things differently to be able to help people and try to prevent some of these things? And no one can tell me that there's no signs that are following. We don't know everything, but we have to start listening to people because people are definitely crying out. I do want to thank everyone that attended Blessed People Get Stressed Too. And that was a wonderful event, and I'm going to thank everybody formally in a few minutes. But let us go ahead and open up in a word of prayer, and even as we're thinking about those families and communities that are affected. God, we thank you for this moment in this time. We thank you for Dr. Kathy Martin being a part of this show and even in the conversation. And God, your people are hurting. And God, you have called us to be repairers of the breach. And today, I don't know who's going to hear this. I don't know who's going to be encouraged today, God, but we just are praying that you would just use us, use these words, use these airways, use 108 Praise Radio and Courtney and the staff here, to just bless and touch somebody that's hurting, showing someone that, and reminding them who they are in you, God, and that you love all people, God, regardless. It doesn't matter where we come from, doesn't matter what we do, your love is agape, it is unconditional, and we love the fact that you love us, God. And I just want people to really hear that and understand that today. And even as we look at all of these negative things that are going on, help us to be the light, help us to be the example, help us to guide and lead and help someone, God. And we thank you for all that you have done and all that you're doing in us, through us, and around us this day. In your name we pray. Amen. All right. So, Dr. Kathy, are you with us? Dr. Kathy? All right. I think she's going to be joining.
I am here.
All right.
I am here, Brian.
All right.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me to share this time with you on your show.
Yeah, so I'm going to jump right in. But first, I just want to thank everybody for Blessed People Get Stressed Too, How to Identify Signs of Mental Distress. And we had it at Victory for the World Church on last Sunday. So shouts out to Dr. Kenneth L. Samuel for opening up the doors for the United Church of Christ, where I am also a minister at, for providing a grant to be able to provide this, type of information. There were over about 80 to 90 some people there. I mean, leaders, of the church, the community. I mean, everyone came out. So we're going to have another one on the fourth Sunday in this month, and we will be talking about that more on the show. But it's going to deal with depression and anxiety. And so I think that's a timely thing to be talking about and to be sharing, because of the simple fact that we are in a crisis. We are in turbulent times, if I can use that word. And we need to really be talking about things and strategies that we can do to help people. People are really hurting. They're struggling, in relationships. We're struggling in financial situations. We're struggling all the way around. So something like this will give you some strategies to help with that anxiety and that depression. And many of us out there that are listening have had moments of what we call depressive moods. Many of us have major depressive disorder. And so please seek the help, seek mental health counseling. It always helps, you to be a better person and to see things differently and everything like that. All right, Dr. Kathy Martin. You still with me?
I'm here.
All right. So I would just want to introduce you formally. On the line is Dr. Kathy Martin. She is a former pastor of AME Church, which is the African Methodist Episcopal Church. She also has pastored her own non-denominational church and been hooked to several different denominations. Dr. Kathy also is a she also took a unit of clinical pastoral education with me. She is a graduate of the ITC, Interdenominational Theological Seminary here in Atlanta, Georgia. And she also is a graduate of the Columbia Seminary in Decatur, Georgia, where she has her Doctor of Ministry degree. Yay! All right, Dr. Kathy. Welcome to the Therapeutic Conversation Show. She's also a dear friend of mine. I've known Kathy for many years. I've also served at the Victory for the World Church with Kathy as an associate minister there under Dr. Kenneth L. Samuel. And so welcome to the show, Dr. Kathy.
Well, thank you, Brian. I appreciate the invitation, as I said, to be a part of this. I've known you for a while, and I am just happy to see what you're doing with the show, what you're doing with your practice, what you're doing with information beyond the walls of your office, and how you're concerned and actually engaged with what's happening in the church relative to mental health.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I also appreciate your support and love as well. So we want to jump right in, Dr. Kathy Martin. We want to talk about, and this is the question that we're raising today, and you can share however you want to share. But we're, of course, this show is about mental health, spirituality, and empowerment. And so we've been really the last month and a half focusing on the fact that many pastors and spiritual leaders are not receiving or open to receive mental health counseling services. Why do you think that is? What is challenging pastors from a pastoral perspective of why they are so resistant a lot of times? Not everybody, but a lot of pastors and spiritual leaders are so resistant to receiving mental health counseling services.
Well, I mean, on a larger scale, I'm sure you've talked about this many times on your show, that the African-American community in general is a bit resistant to talking about mental health seeking help, admitting when they know they need help. And so pastors are people. And so, that rolls up to the pastors as well. And I hate to put it this way, but
you go right ahead.
I believe that many pastors are narcissists.
Oh.
And it's because they're narcissists. They either don't see that they need help, or they've fallen into a vocation that supports their narcism.
Hold on, Dr. Kathy. This is a cutting edge show right here. Your perspective, can you say that again? I just want to make sure they heard that, because we have talked about about narcissistic personality and behaviors on this show, and I will explain it in a few minutes. But can you say that again? Because that is a powerful statement.
I said I believe that many pastors are narcissists. Oh. I had to deal with some of that myself when I was a pastor. When I said the structure of the churches support a narcissist in their vocation, their chosen vocation, because I think narcissists are born to be spiritual leaders. I'm sorry for putting it that way.
It's all right. You can speak on this show. That is your, you say it and you share it.
For example, in the AME church, that's where I came from. I was the pastor. I had veto power over everything. There was nothing anybody could do in that church that I could not stop. Wow. And, it's different than a congregational church. But even in a congregational structure, if the pastor's not careful, they can, I don't even know what the word I need to use, but they can see themselves as a leader that can't be changed, can't be challenged, can't be stopped, and that they have all the answers. I personally, I'll just share with you, I used to feel that way too, and I was an AME pastor, and I had that veto power, and I had my narcissistic ways. What helped me, and this is what I think we need more of, what helped me was one of the parishioners was bold enough to speak up and confront me on it.
Oh.
And she said to me one day, we were in the church by ourselves, and she said, Rev, you are a good pastor, but you're stubborn and you think you know everything.
Now, she said what again? Say that again, because it was a little interference.
She said, you're a good pastor, but you're stubborn and you think you know everything.
A parishioner said this to you.
And it was funny because when she said it, I heard her. And when I heard her, I went home and searched for a therapist.
Wow.
And that's when I started seeing a therapist at that point, because I had seen that behavior in my own father. He thought he knew everything.
Wow.
And I know my father was a narcissist. Yes. I do know that.
Yes.
And I was looking at that, and when I saw that behavior in myself, I said, I don't want to be this. And you have to get to a point, I think as a pastor, you have to get to a point where somebody helps you see yourself.
Wow, and that is helpful.
That is difficult. And I would challenge parishioners to see their pastor as a human being.
Ooh.
and find loving ways to confront when you see that sort of behavior, because it's not healthy or helpful for anybody.
Yes.
And so, so I would challenge not just the pastors, but also the congregants, that to recognize, we talk about church family.
Yes.
Well, start acting like a family.
Yes.
In a family, you're not afraid to talk to other people. You're not afraid to tell people what you see. So be a family.
Wow.
And don't be this kingdom where everyone's looking up to the pastor, and the pastor has to act like they know everything. They don't.
Oh my.
And they can't see themselves. They need people who can lovingly say, something's going on, Rev.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Kathy, I'm gonna stop you right there because you said a whole lot of nuggets that I think are just worth repeating. First thing you said that and you said all. Did you say all pastors or let's say some pastors are narcissists? Is that what you said?
I said many pastors.
Many pastors are narcissists. I mean, and I think that opens up a whole nother door because some of this is systematic and it's institutionalized as far as this narcissistic personality. And so what are we talking about when we talking about narcissistic personality? We talk about people that are really into themselves and self-centered and everything centers around them. Dr. James Griffin has been on the show. He's going to come back and talk more again because I think he needs to about narcissistic personality and what is a narcissist. And everybody's not necessarily have the narcissistic personality, but they're traits of being a narcissist. When you think everything is about you and everything centers around you, and from a spiritual sense, you basically almost take the place of God for people. Now that is, we see that and we've seen that across the board in history of people kind of stepping up and following certain leaders and doing whatever they said, even costing them their lives. And we've seen that type of narcissistic type personalities, but we see traits of it is what I feel that I'm hearing Dr. Kathy Martin put out is that, part of it is we foster this type of behavior. So a narcissist is not going to seek help from someone else. If you're a true narcissist, my cousin is on. My cousin, no, that's my stepfather's on. Thank you for joining. Martin, thank you for joining. Hey, Martin is on. Minister Kevin Daniels is on, is watching. Whoever is on, please send a comment in. Dr. Kathy Martin is already hitting it strong. Please send us a word, a comment down, as you're joining. I'm looking at all the comments. I'm going to definitely answer any questions that you have, and Dr. Kathy Martin is here. So please, or you can call in. The number is 770-988-6461, 770-988-6461. We are jumping right on it today. I'm still stuck, Dr. Kathy, with this narcissist thing. I just never really thought about it that way. You also said that pastors are people too. And also I want to add something to that. Pastors have feelings too. And I think that you said to hold them accountable and to approach your pastor in a loving, caring way. But I love what that parishioner said to you. What did she say to you?
She told me I was stubborn, and I thought I know everything.
Yes. And most pastors, if that happens and they say that, most pastors would be furious. They would never be invited to a meeting or anything else. You always try to put them out the church if they come at it because, we looked at it as the spirit of rebellion. That's when I was growing up. That's what they were talking about. That's the spirit of rebellion, and everything. Thank you, Friedman, for joining us today. Yeah, so please send your comments on Facebook. Everybody's joining, but I don't see any comments. So please comment. What do you think about what Dr. Kathy Martin has said? She does not mind you challenging her or even agreeing with her, because I definitely agree with some aspects of what she's saying. So please join us. Call in 770-988-6461. If you call in, just start announcing yourself, that you're calling in. And then also comments. I do see my friend Dewan is on. I see my stepfather and mom is on. Martin, you're on. And Minister Kevin Daniels is on. And Margaret, you can call in or send a comment. With Dr. Kathy Martin just said that she believed that many pastors are narcissists. They have narcissistic personality disorder. So Margaret just joined us. So please say a comment. I know she has something to say about that. All right, Dr. Kathy, do you want to share? What are you doing with your ministry and with things? You always doing something interactive. And so talk a little bit, as we wait for questions and comments, a little bit about what you're doing with your interactive faith cafe. Is that correct? Is that the name correct?
Right. Actually, I have that, and I have another ministry or outreach that I call Creative Connections. And with both of those, what I'm trying to do is create a space where people can come together and connect in ways that they ordinarily would not. I believe that we are most alike when we're having fun and when we're going through a time of difficulty, when we're in mourning.
Wow.
I think in those two times, we're more alike and we have our guard down and we are more vulnerable and can see one another as human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't want to do the mourning piece, but I want to do the creative thing.
Yes.
And what I do is for creative connections, I play games, and they're interactive games
Mm-hmm.
where you have to have teams and work together. And I've seen people, join in a game with someone they probably never would speak to. But then next thing you know, they have to get together and act out something to win this round of this game. And then you see they start having fun together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when we connect in that space, then we can start seeing one another as human beings,
Wow.
or everybody. And we can see people as someone to respect. And so my hope is that once I help people make those connections, that they will remember that when it comes to defending someone's right or how we vote and what sort of activities that we are engaged in.
Yes.
What sort of activism we're open to.
Wow.
And so that's what I'm trying to do. It looks from the surface, it looks like I'm just with Interactive Faith Cafe. It may look like I'm just trying to have a night out where people can come for music and a glass of wine. But it's much more than that. It's trying to make these connections where we can build community, even if it's a virtual community for an hour. But during that time, you connect with people in a way where even, it may be subconsciously, but you make these connections. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Awesome. And that's what and that's what it's about, because it's about connections, and it's also, as you said, family, before, about making those connections. And we got to do different things like that, because a lot of times people go to church, but they never have fun with each other. They never sit and have dialogue. They never open the floor up to different ideas. And maybe that's part of that narcissistic type personality that a lot of leadership have, that they don't want to hear from, someone else.
Well, yeah, I mean, right. A lot of people feel threatened if someone else comes in and says, let me try to do something creative or a different type of ministry. Some people feel threatened by that.
Yes.
But one of the things you just said in church, and the reason I'm trying to do ministry outside of the walls of the church now is because of what is almost cliche to say that people in church are phony. But it is like people put on a whole different personality to come into church.
Oh.
And then are not real, always have their guard up, thinking I have to act a certain way, or I have to respond in a particular way, and I have to protect myself so this person doesn't know that I have a problem, because I need to be able to say I'm blessed and highly favored. So if they see that I'm struggling today, if they see that I need somebody to give me a hug today because I'm hurting, if I let them know my real self, then they won't like me. Then they'll think negatively of me. But if truth be told, all of us, when we go into church, there's something going on. There's something that we either bring into the situation, which is a help, or there's a need that we have, that we're trying to meet that need.
Correct.
And so, so I think I'm doing these other creative type of things where I can kind of catch people with their guard down and teach them how to love each other.
Wow, now that's powerful right there. Look, you better get that copyrighted. Say that again. That was good. Teaching people how to do what?
I'm catching people with their guard down so I can teach them how to love each other.
Oh my goodness. Now I like that. That's a book right there. Somebody just put a little heart. They did a check on Facebook about that. And Minister Kevin Daniels says, I think that the narcissism of some pastors in leadership adds subconsciously to church hurt of congregants. I agree with our sister. So Minister Kevin Daniels is agreeing with you about that. And he's talking about, that it's adding to church hurt. I mean, definitely, narcissists are out to hurt people. They don't even realize, they don't see it. So you're right on it, Minister Kevin, because, I mean, that's what they do. I mean, they do not consider the feelings of other people. It's all about them. Everything centers around them. And the more we talk about this, the more I'm seeing it, and I've had experiences with this narcissistic type personality in spiritual leadership. I do. I'm seeing it. So, I mean, it's definitely vital. Huh?
It's all around us.
Yes.
I mean, like I said, even myself, and I don't think I'm in that space now because I've been through enough therapy and so forth that I know my own challenges around mental health. Mm-hmm. And I'm addressing the challenges every day around my own mental health.
Yes.
Just like I manage my physical illness, I manage my mental and emotional illness, and I'll call it an illness because it's not. I'm not ashamed of it. Yes. I know that I have to treat the depression that I have and other mental issues that I have. But if you go get your therapy, your psychiatrist, do what you need to do, you can lead a normal life and not hurt people.
Wow.
These pastors could lead normal lives and not hurt people. And if they were to get some help, they'd be happier people.
Oh, wow. Now that's
because I don't think they're happy people in a real sense. Because maybe they're feeding that need for control.
Yeah.
But when you're feeding, I believe when you're feeding that need for control, there's always a part of you that's afraid to be found out.
Yes. The need for control.
And so if they could heal that, I mean, they'd be so much more powerful because you put together the energy that comes from being a narcissist, that I'm in control. Okay, we'll open the door to some possibility, to some other people, to some other thoughts.
Yeah.
Heal that part of you.
Yeah.
And you'd be a powerful person.
Wonderful. And I mean, and that's the truth. And that need for control there is an insecurity. They're really insecure people.
Absolutely.
But, if you have to, and think about this from a psychological standpoint, if you have to control everything and, everything has to be under your control and your command, you're insecure. And I think that's point two. I think if we're going to say that many pastors are, narcissists, we then going to say that a lot of them are definitely insecure people.
Which is why I think it's so important what I said before about the church recognizing, we say we're a church family, and be a family, and love each other, and support each other, and create a space where the pastor knows he or she is safe.
Yes, and that's also dealing with the accountability. So join us, please, 770-988-6461. If you have a comment, I know we're talking about a sensitive subject here, but hey, this is what we do on the Therapeutic Conversation Show. And please, I see comments, I see hearts. Just send a word. If you have a question for Dr. Kathy, we can definitely bring it up. So if you don't want to call, you can definitely put a message on Facebook. What are you all thinking about this? I mean, what are you thinking about this? Dr. Kathy Martin, and I'm agreeing with her with a lot of those. As far as being that this narcissistic type behavior is being seen and is hindering ministers and spiritual leaders from getting the help that they need to be. Because we got to look at being healthy. That's another conversation that we don't have in the church. And then someone said about a month ago that was on the show, Dr. Ken Sanders said, just because someone's been doing something for 30 years or 40 years or 50 years or 60 years doesn't mean that they have been effective. There's some people that have been hurting and pastoring people for many years, but they've been also hurting people. They're not, and some places are not healthy. And this is a conversation. We may have another show about this, and definitely Dr. Kathy Martin will be in the house one day soon. But, we got to start looking at what's healthy in our lives, what's healthy in our churches, what is healthy. I mean, what does a healthy relationship look like? A lot of times we don't even have models to even look at that. So I think this conversation is so important, and I definitely hope that people join in. But send a comment. I'm seeing hearts. I'm seeing people liking what we're saying. But send a comment. Call in. I want to hear somebody say something. 770-988-6461. And we still got a list of people that are on. What do you all think? Are y'all seeing this in your churches or you're not? Definitely have a comment about that. Kathy, what else? Dr. Kathy Martin, what else is because we talked about the narcissist, we talked about the need for control. What else do you think is hindering pastors and spiritual leaders from receiving mental health services and getting the help that they need?
I think I can't say more than that. The narcissist piece and the fact that in general our community does not look favorably on us caring for ourselves and for our mental health. I don't know. I think that if pastors would have, like I said, have somebody who lovingly confronts them. And can see, because it's hard for you to see you need to change sometimes. Sometimes you need somebody to tell you.
Yes.
I learned a long time ago that excellence is something that somebody has to help you see. That excellence is something that happens outside of yourself, and you're always reaching for it.
Yes.
So if pastors, one of the things that would help would be if pastors were required to do more training. If denominations would require pastors to get to, PPE, do whatever they need to do to grow in terms of their awareness of their mental health, and then in that there's the self-examination that goes along with that process. And so I think if denominations were to require pastors to go through some training, like say annually or something.
Yes.
Because some denominations you have to go through a mental health screening before you can get ordained.
Yes.
But most denominations are not that way.
Exactly.
And even the ones where you have to go through that assessment, you can trick an assessment.
Exactly. You're right.
You can fake your way through. So you still need somebody to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
And be able to see. And then we have to stop looking at everything as such a spiritual thing.
Yes.
Pastors know better. Everything that happens is not because somebody is hit by the Spirit. If sister whatever falls out the same time, the same place every Sunday, something's wrong. She needs some help. And the pastor needs to be able to identify that.
Hold on, Dr. Kathy. Say that again because you said a whole lot. Say that part again. You said if a sister does what in the church?
I said if sister so-and-so falls out every Sunday in the same place, something's wrong with her. She needs some help.
Yes. So we got to look at this behavior, and they got to know how to also assess this type of behavior.
Right.
You are really on it today. I'm loving it.
But there's another side to it, though, that, we look at our society now, right? And you see, I'm about to give you a really strong shift.
All right, you go ahead.
You look at our society now, and you look at everything that's going on. Our Supreme Court is one way, and all these different things are happening, and children taken away from their parents. There are things that we need to address, and social issues that we need to be able to respond to, just like the good old days. We have to go back to like the civil rights movement and have the churches involved with what's going on.
Yeah,
but we have to. We've already moved some from the prosperity gospel.
Yes.
But we have to move a little bit further because we have to recognize that we connect on the spiritual level here on earth. We need to stop trying to get people saved to go to heaven and try to get people conscious to learn how to create heaven on earth.
Yes.
And we don't talk about, Jesus talks like that. Jesus talked about all that. His gospel was about how we create heaven on earth, how we treat one another here. But somehow we've gotten caught up in the wrong thing, and pastors are trying to do and say whatever gets people to shout.
Wow.
And people don't need to shout all the time. People need to think, and people need to be pushed.
Yes.
And so the pastor in that regard, oh, Brian, I can't believe you're making me go here.
Go ahead. You go right ahead. This is an open show.
All right. The pastor in that regard has to be focused on more than building a church and getting people to heaven.
Oh,
they have to be informed about what's going on in the community. And I think that might even help some of the narcissism too. But you have to be informed, and you're educating yourself all the time, so that you can engage in what needs to happen here on earth right now. Because that's what Jesus tried to get us to do.
Yes. And Dr. Kathy, you just said it clear. I mean, and you went back to this requirement, and part of being in a family is the accountability piece. And then you also talk about requiring training. And that is the key right there. I think that even if they have narcissistic type personalities, and as you said, they get hooked more to the community, then they'll be more apt to see hurt. They'll be more apt to see pain within themselves first, and then be able to identify and see that in other people. I'm going to say that again. They'll be able to see the pain within themselves and the brokenness within themselves first. Then they'll be able to address and maybe help the pain in other people. But I think that clinical pastoral education, and we're going to definitely have a show, and we've been talking about this since we've been on the air, but I mean, clinical pastoral education is so vital because it helps the minister, it helps the spiritual leader, it helps leadership to look at what are your motives for ministry, and also it also brings a therapeutic part where you're in a group of peers and also a supervisor that holds you accountable for some of the things that you're doing, questions and probes, and also provide some interventions for some of the things that ministers encounter in life, where they can be real, they can take the mask off. There's no titles that people are following as bishop and apostle and all these other different titles that we have that, you're just, if I was in the group, I'm just Brian. I'm not Dr. Brian. I'm not LPC. I'm just Brian, and I'm a human being. And so I think, denominations and churches requiring some kind of, because unfortunately the ones that do require, they require CPE, and then they require maybe a psychological evaluation to get ordained. But once they're ordained, there's no follow-up. And even in our conferences and even in our conventions, we have no conversations around mental health and really evaluating some of the ministers, or just providing a safe place. Even if we do that, where ministers can be honest and say, look, I'm struggling with this. I need help, without, punishment, without them being, put out of ministry necessarily, but evaluate it and saying, look, I'm having these thoughts. I'm having these suicidal thoughts. I'm having this depression or depressive moods, stuff that's going on. And I'm not penalized, but I'm creating a safe place, because we're about a person first. Before you are a minister, you are a person. And you have challenges, like all of us. I've had challenges. You've had challenges. And many of us have had challenges. All of us are challenged in some way. And I think that we really got to really work on that and create these safe places, these retreat centers, and certain things that I have been praying for and looking at, and hopefully, I would definitely create some places. But across the nation, we need to be really having this conversation. So, Dr. Kathy Martin, you have laid it on us, I tell you today, but that accountability and requiring that as a part of their spiritual. And until we can look at it as part of our spiritual development, mental health as part of our spiritual development, we can't do any work. Mental health is part of your spiritual development. It is part of your spirituality. If you cannot comprehend, you do not understand, your consciousness isn't there. Your understanding isn't there. Even the Bible talks about get wisdom and get an understanding. And if you can't understand some things, you can't be effective. You go around hurting people. It's a thin line between hurting people and helping people. And I think that's some of what I'm gathering from what you're saying, Dr. Kathy Martin. Wonderful. Anything else you got to add? Because you have definitely dropped it on us. We have a few more minutes left, and and I can't wait till you come. Are you going to come in the studio and see me?
Yes, I will.
Because you are on it, and I love what you're saying. And we need to be challenged. And you're challenging us. You're having a call to us, and things like that. So what can we do? I mean, it's almost like a Joe Madison. He's a radio personality, and he always talks about things that are going on. He's on Sirius Radio, and I listen to him every day. But he always asks the question is, okay, we're going to complain. We're going to say this, say that. What can we do about it? What is our responsibility individually, collectively as well, but individually to do about it? That's the question.
When it comes to pastors?
Yes. And
like I said before, what we need to do is have people be able to lovingly have a conversation with their pastor, mm-hmm. and know that you might get some pushback. You probably mm-hmm. will. Actually, what you'll get is that phony face that they give you, like, I'm listening to you, and they're not. And so...
I got you.
I'm sorry.
You go ahead, Dr. Kathy. Just be yourself. Look, this is a therapeutic conversation show. Be yourself.
I think what we need to do is just, do the best we can to love each other.
Yes, yes.
Do your best you can to love your pastor.
Yes, yes.
Do the best you can to love yourself.
Yes, yes.
And, if we could just focus on love and loving each other, I think some of this mess will get better. Because if we can love each other and create a loving presence, your spirit, your aura will give off a positive vibe, and people will know that you're a safe space.
Yes,
and
yes.
So if we can be enough safe spaces for people around us,
ooh.
Not forcing it on them, but just being. It's kind of like this ministry of presence. Just be there and be loving.
Yes, yes.
Just be.
I love it.
And if we can do more of that, I think that's how a change will happen.
Yes. And Dr. Kathy, you said it clear, and that's what we're talking about. And so ones that are just joining in, we're still having this conversation on why spiritual leadership and pastors do not seek mental health services. And Minister Kevin Daniels has responded again, and he says, do you think that the source of narcissism stems from the patriarchal male dominance of the church leadership as well as in society? Uh-oh. Did you get that? Uh-oh. Minister Kevin, you on it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's true. I think that it does stem from that. But as I said before, I think that people who have narcissistic personalities are naturally drawn to ministry as a vocation.
Wow. And that's, and it'll be interesting that if a doctoral student do some research on that, because that is definitely something that, look, if I was to do a PhD, I would do definitely a research. We have another caller on the line. Caller, please identify yourself. Is there another caller on the line? What? 0324? Caller, we can't hear you. All righty, just chime in because we get ready to end in a few minutes, but chime in definitely if you're on the line, 770-988-6461. So we're still talking. We see Pastor Reverend Kendall Brown. I know you got something to say about narcissistic personality in the pulpit. I see Dr. Reverend Pastor Kendall Brown has joined, a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, and also a prominent minister himself in his own right. I know you got something to say, a comment or something. I definitely want to get you on the show, so I will be reaching out to you, Pastor Brown, Reverend Brown.
Yeah, I want to say hello to Pastor Brown. I haven't heard or seen him in a while.
I haven't heard from him either, so it's good. I'm just glad you're watching. I do see that he's watching, so he hasn't commented yet, but I do see him, watching this. But this is a powerful conversation conversation. And Dr. Kathy, I'm telling you, I'm thanking you so much for just your insight and for even taking a risk. And just that's one thing I always like about you, just being who you are. You always have been the same, vocal, even if it costs you. You still just go ahead and put it out there. But this is something, I don't know, I may have to read an article about this narcissistic personality in the pulpit, because this is what's really going on. We do not, and guess what? When we're narcissists, we do not see the hurt in other people, number one, and then we abuse people. Number two, it's abusive. And that's where I think a lot of this church hurt is coming from, as Minister Kevin has said, too, because people hurt other people. We've heard that statement before. And we got to continue to still lift up the light, encourage pastors, hold them accountable, and really start addressing this need for control and this insecurities that a lot of them are having. A lot of them are having insecure issues, and that's why they have to overemphasize certain things and push certain things because of the simple fact that they're insecure. And we don't have to be. Let's think about these words. Therapeutic, that we need to be therapeutic with people. That means caring. That means being there, holding their hand. A lot of ministers and pastors need to be trained on pastoral care. It's not caring for the pastor, as we talked about last week. It is caring for ourselves as well as the congregation and the life of the congregation. And then lastly, we need to be looking at healthy congregations and safe places. That's what Dr. Kathy Martin had put out as what can we do about it? Create these safe places where pastors and ministers and leaders can share and talk about their feelings and be honest without being punished, without being in the AME church sent to a non-producing church and all of these type of things because we spoke up or because we said that there was a need, and I just think we got to be therapeutic and listening and caring, and love is the ultimate thing, that we got to love each other. We are the body. And if one part of the body is not functioning right, the whole body is not functioning right. So wonderful. Now, Dr. Kathy Martin, is there any closing statements that you would have? What do you want them to know? And then how can they reach you?
The best thing for people to do is, as I said before, if you want to immediately engage in doing something helpful, love yourself, and then love everybody you come in contact with. Talk to people in a loving way. Approach people in a loving way. If you see a need, try to meet that need.
Yes.
I think that's what we can do, and I think that's the most powerful thing as individuals that we can do.
Wonderful.
Now, to contact me, you can reach me at Dr. Kathy, DrKathi 100, Dr. Kathy 100 at gmail.com.
Okay, say that one more time, and I'll try to put it in the comments after the show. Say that again.
Okay. Dr. Kathy, DrKathi 100, 100 at gmail.com.
All right, so please reach out to Dr. Kathy Martin. She's definitely available as a speaker, as a presenter. I mean, she definitely is on it when it comes to mental health and understanding those things, and also working as a support for pastors, especially new pastors and stuff, and especially women in ministry. I mean, just cutting edge, very inclusive, and very open. And she's also part of the United Church of Christ movement as well. I mean, and so she's highly recommended. Please reach out to her. Dr. Kathy Martin, thank you for the conversation. And definitely come on the show soon, okay? I'm going to definitely book you on the show.
Thank you for the invitation. I hope I didn't say too much.
No, you didn't. You said exactly what you needed to say. And I just want to thank everybody for joining us. Barbara Diggin Ingram for joining us. We have my friend Dewan had joined us, my mom, my stepfather, Martin, Minister Kevin Daniels, thank you for your comments today. Margaret for joining us. Kendall Brown for joining us, and Freeman Lamar Thomas for joining us. Thank you all for joining us. Please reach out to us, definitely on the Therapeutic Conversation Show. Please like the page and share as we're on every Saturday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Also, you can definitely reach me at www.joshua-generation.net if you need mental health counseling services. We have 3 locations here in the Atlanta, Georgia area. Please reach out if you need services. You can see myself myself or many other people that are on my staff. And then if you need for me to come into your church, I'm definitely open and and definitely well equipped, definitely to come into your church to offer CPE, clinical pastoral education. That's 1 unit, 2 units or so that Dr. Kathy Martin has taken and many others have taken that will help. This is the training that helps people clinically, ministers and pastors and leaders clinically, to be able to function effectively in ministry. So definitely be open to that. If you need services like that, also mental health services, and just need a consultation, please reach out to me. Our number is 470-545-2297. That's 470-545-2297, www.joshua-generation.net. Or you can like me definitely on the Therapeutic Conversation Show, the Joshua Generation Care and Consulting Services, and also Brian Jones. You can look at me right on Facebook and see some of the things that we're doing. Thank you again, Dr. Kathy Martin, for everything and for all your comments. They were so appropriate, and it's definitely getting us to think and look at things differently. So thank you for your love and your support today.
You're welcome.
So definitely,
I love you too, Brian.
I love you. So join us every Saturday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. This is the Therapeutic Conversation Show. I'm your host, Dr. Brian Jones, LPC. Thank you for 108 Praise Radio for providing a platform for us, and Courtney and the staff for their gracious hospitality and support and just their love. And so reach out, and also like 108 Praise Radio. Please reach out, support, send some good comments. We have some wonderful presenters on here, shows on here, very diverse shows, different angles, but we all are voicing the gospel. So therefore, please join us on that. All right. Thank you. This has been the Therapeutic Conversation Show. Again, I'm your host, Brian Jones, LPC. Have a great day. Join us again next Saturday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.